Nirvana is this moment seen directly. There is nowhere else than here. The only gate is now. The only doorway is your own body and mind. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing else to be. There's no destination. It's not something to aim for in the afterlife. It's simply the quality of this moment.
Just this room where we are. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to who's there. Pay attention to what isn't known there. Pay attention to what is known there. Pay attention to what everyone is thinking and feeling. What you're doing there. And pay attention. Pay attention.
That action doesn't create problems, such the Buddhist monk said when he was asked, what's the meaning of Zen Buddhism, what's the meaning of Zen? And the monk said, oh, that's easy. No self, no problem. That's it. So you begin to live and act without a mentally constructed self. You live from the aware presence. But for a while, the two are there. And the awareness often comes in after something has happened that was unconscious. And you see it. Don't beat yourself up. It's only the human condition. But whenever you see unconsciousness has just happened or happened the other day, and now you see it, or you see it in the middle of it, it's good to see it. The more you see it, the more awake you become. Don't personalize it. It's nothing, it's not who you are. That's the main thing.
So can the now make me rich, powerful, free, happy, smarter, more loving, more loved?
Yes, all of those things.
Rich?
Yes. Let's start with rich, and then we'll look at the next one. Can the now make me rich? Yes. Now what does it mean to be rich? Rich means it's not what people think it is. It's not to have lots of possessions. That may be one aspect of being rich. But rich means to be in touch with the fullness of life. And the only place where you can find the fullness of life, the intense aliveness that you sense when you are present to now, is here. When you are open to the present moment, what comes in is a gratitude for what is. No matter what, it's a little plant, the air you're breathing, the light that's coming through the window, the sound of a bird, whatever is, there is a goodness to it. And even if it looks bad, even if it's a dead animal or a dead human, when you are totally aligned with the present moment, there's a peace that comes into your perceptions. And with that peace comes a gratitude that is very deep. And so you're experiencing really life for the first time when you become present. And so to be in a state of gratitude for what is really what being wealthy means. The present moment is always enough. And so the definition of wealthy really is to have enough, to feel already the fullness of life, an expression that Jesus used. He said, I want you to have the fullness of life. And people didn't quite understand what he meant. Was Jesus talking about shopping malls? That you have 500 shops in one huge shopping mall and you have thousands of things to choose from? Was he predicting the arrival of shopping malls? Is that the fullness of life? You can walk around and buy, and you have lots of money and credit cards and you can buy anything you like. Now there are people who can do that. They are not happy. So then he's not talking about many things when he talks about the fullness of life. He's talking about the one thing. It's to feel the intensity of being alive. And you can only feel that intensity of aliveness when you're in the present moment. with your attention. One way of being in the present moment, as you know, is to feel the inner aliveness of the body, to feel the aliveness that is in every cell of the body. Ah, it's alive. And the more you go there, the stronger that feeling becomes. And once you are connected with that, you feel that the world around you is intensely alive too. It was alive before, but you didn't see it because there was too much thought stuff going through your mind continuously. The world became dead because everything was immediately labeled mentally. That's a tree, that's a dog. The moment you label it and you don't look anymore, it's not alive anymore. Everything gets deadened through mental abstraction when you go around. The voice in your head immediately calling things names, giving things names. So when you become more present, there's this alert attention with which you meet your surroundings. Once you know the fullness of life that is already here now, and then gratitude arises for what is, no matter what it is, then living in this way, eventually that fullness that in essence is an inner realization rather than outer, that's the foundation for wealth, is to feel the fullness of life within. And then if you live in that way, in connectedness with that, eventually the fullness of life will also manifest for you externally in various ways. Meaningful activity is a form of wealth. To know that what you're doing is helping other human beings brings an external fullness also into your life, which is a form of wealth. And wealth may also come in the form of things coming to you, more conventional things, home or car or whatever it may be. Those things also come much more easily when basically you already feel the fullness even long before it comes externally. So basically you feel already wealthy when you live fully in the present moment. You never feel really poor. I perhaps spent 10 years of my life at least living what people would say below the poverty line. And I never felt poor. I always felt rich, although for a long time I had nothing, no external possessions. But life was so fulfilling to live every moment, fully present to the moment, that I felt wealthy, abundant. And much, much later did actually external abundance come into my life to some extent. And that didn't make me feel better. I feel just when now I have a car. During those years I used a bicycle mostly, or the bus. And I don't feel better now because I have a nice car. I feel exactly the same, but just it's nice to have a nice, comfortable car with air conditioning in the summer, and so. But it makes the fullness hasn't changed. It hasn't done anything to change that. So, the foundation is to be fully alive in the present moment. And then it is much more likely that external wealth will also come to you as an outer manifestation of an inner reality. If you feel wealthy already, but if you feel poor and feel that you need to make money now, even if you achieve it, you'll be unhappy with your wealth, because it comes out of the unhappiness. So there are many people who are creating wealth these days. They build up a big business on enterprise, but it comes out of a deep dissatisfaction with what is. It comes out of an enormous neediness to show to the world that you are somebody, or to prove to yourself or the world how good you are. And that is not conducive to true happiness. There are many wealthy people who are unhappy in their wealth. So and they're not really wealthy. And they are basically still deprived. They are deprived of the fullness of life. And they have perhaps 5 or 10 houses in different places, cars, yacht, and yet they're deprived of the fullness. And so they need more and more. And it doesn't help. So here we have living in the present moment, brings you into the fullness of life now, and then eventually it will also manifest in different ways externally for you. Power was the other thing. Will it bring me power? Yes, but not power to the ego. It will make your life more empowered. That what you do, much greater power flows into what you do, because what you are doing, the action that you are performing, whatever it is, in the present moment, the only place where you can do anything, the action that you are performing in the present moment is not a means to an end. For most people, they are active, but they are active because they want to get there, to that point in the future. They want to, the end result. Their eyes are on the end result. So they may be busy building up a business because they want to become wealthy. But they reduce the quality and aliveness of the present moment because they are reducing the present moment to a means to an end. They give it inferior status. In their minds, the future is more important because that's where they're going to be wealthy. But then the pattern remains inside them, and even when they have the money, they still have the same basic psychological pattern, which means they need the next moment. And always they reduce the present moment to a means to an end. So the action is not of high quality. It does not contribute to happiness. They don't make themselves happy, and they don't make others happy with what they do. So that's not truly empowered, and it is low quality action. High quality action comes when you don't reduce the present moment to a means to an end. That's truly empowered action. And only when you no longer reduce this moment to a means to an end can you give your full attention to whatever it is that you are doing now. Some great artists do it. Sportsmen do it. When they perform, they are totally present. It's not a means to an end. They're totally in the now. And so high quality action comes out of that, and this is empowered action. So living in the now brings power into your life, true power, not the pseudo power of the ego. And then whatever comes out of it, out of that action, will be good in one way or another. It will not be, one could say, I call it, it's not karmic action, which means karmic action, it's an Eastern term, karma. Karmic action creates more unhappiness. It comes out of unhappiness and creates more unhappiness for yourself and others. But out of presence, alignment with now, comes non-karmic action. It does not create more suffering on the planet. Because so many people are very, very active, but a lot of that activity ultimately creates more suffering on the planet. So that's the power. What's the next thing that the now will bring you? What was the question?
I really want to know about guilt. I feel guilty all the time for little things I'm doing or that I'm not doing. And there are things that I know I did that were mistakes to other people. So I know that you're supposed to be free and liberated in the now, but shouldn't I feel bad about this stuff? I mean, and what's going to keep me, if I'm free and liberated in the now, from like doing bad things to people? Because that's a fear, I think.
The only place where you can be free of the conditioning of your mind, because freedom is not an external thing, it's an internal thing. You can be in prison and you can be free. People have written to me from prison and they've read The Power of Now, and they said they now feel free. What does that mean? True freedom is freedom from your mind, from the conditioned, all the conditioned thoughts and emotions that otherwise control you. Freedom is the freedom to step back from the conditioning into the deeper I, the awareness that you are. It's freedom from thought, ultimately. So that not every thought controls you. So it's the freedom from conditioning, and basically it's the freedom from the past. So you're no longer determined, your behavior and your thinking is no longer determined by your past. It's also freedom from future, because most people have a desperate need for the next moment. I call it psychological future. They need the fulfillment that they think the future will bring them. It won't. So this is something for you to be aware of, because I know that pattern also still operates in you, believing that something in the future will bring you greater fulfillment than you have now. But it won't. If you don't have it now, you won't have it then. You have to access the power of now regardless of your external circumstances. You can have that now. You can't wait for the future, because once you're in the waiting mode, you'll always be waiting for the next moment. Even when you become a famous actor, it won't feel quite right. Maybe you're already famous, I don't know. But it won't feel quite right, and there will be many things when you're very famous. I've met one or two famous actors, and they come to this teaching. Why do they come? Don't they have everything? No, they've realized they don't have what really matters, and suddenly they discover the spiritual dimension because they've achieved everything else on the worldly dimension. So go deeply into the present moment, become deeply aligned and at one with the only thing there ever is in your life, the present moment. And that is where true power resides, and that is the only place where you can be truly free. What's the next thing that you want? Happiness. Can happiness come in the future? When I achieve this or that, then I'll be happy, when I make it. But every situation that you go into will have a downside. There is not, if you're expecting circumstances to make you happy, they can do that for a while, and then you find, oh, it's not quite what I expected, and there's always another side to it. And very often, the very thing that makes you happy, if you have an external thing that makes you happy, that very thing will also make you unhappy. An example, a woman comes into your life who makes you happy. 1, 2, 3 years later, the same woman makes you unhappy. It's the same thing. Or a great job is offered to you, and it creates so much stress that you make yourself ill. It makes you happy first, then it makes you unhappy. You become famous, and then you see the downside of fame. You can't go out in the street alone anymore. There's a riot the moment people see you. You're a prisoner of your house. You can't go out without 2 or 3 bodyguards. Is that freedom? And you thought you would be free when you become famous. I've met 1 or 2 famous people who they can't go out alone. It's too dangerous, and people stop them all the time, and they gather around them. They have to stay inside. Everything has to be organized. They have to jump in the car with tinted windows and bodyguards. Is that freedom? Are they happy because of their fame? No, they have experienced the downside of fame. It doesn't mean that you should not pursue goals. There's nothing wrong with being famous. But don't expect it to make you happy. The true happiness has to be found. It comes from being aligned with life internally. And where's that? Now, here. A complete openness and yes to the present moment that takes you deep into the present moment. That is, true happiness comes out of that. And then you can go on and do things and see if you can become famous. Why not? experience that. Experience as much as you can without hoping that some experience, or when you've accumulated enough experiences, you'll finally feel fulfilled and fully yourself. That won't happen. There's no end to accumulating experiences and achieving this or that. You cannot find yourself there. You can only find yourself in the present moment. For everything else you need time. To achieve success in your career, to learn to play the piano, to learn a foreign language, even if you want to meet a woman, it takes time. You have to walk somewhere where the beautiful women hang out, and then it takes time. Everything takes time. And so the mind thinks, okay, finding myself, who I truly am, will also take time. It thinks, when I've added enough to who I think I am, maybe recognition from other people, fame, possessions, put all these things in my bag, and when I have enough things accumulated, then I will be full, and that moment will come at some point in the future. It doesn't. Because the bag, no matter how much you put in, it'll never feel full, besides from the fact that also often things fall out of the bag. You put something in here and then something else falls out. You suddenly get wealth and then you're unhappy in your marriage. Or you're happy in your marriage and suddenly the job doesn't work anymore. Or there's nothing, stability isn't to be found in the external world. It's in constant flux. This universe is not stable. People have this absurd illusion that they're living in a stable universe and that they can achieve some kind of stability in their lives. They are shocked when suddenly big disasters happen and you realize how unstable really everything is. So if you looked, and that doesn't mean it's to be rejected, play in the world and enjoy the play. Play as much as you can. But don't expect anything out there to truly make you happy or fulfill you. Happiness is to be found directly within yourself. It comes from being connected with who you are. This brings us back to where we started. To be in touch, to feel the deeper I. And there's enormous joy in simply feeling the beingness that you are. To feel the I am that is deeper than this or that. I am the very life that you are, to feel that, to feel alive. Out of that comes true happiness. And then you can play around in the world and you acquire things and then you lose things and you acquire some more and then you lose some more. And then in the end you lose everything. That's everybody does. You lose the body. In the end, form dissolves sooner or later. But it's finding something that is deeper than any form inside yourself. That's true happiness. Love true love comes only out of the true I. True love cannot come out of the pseudo-I that says, I, the actor, I, the good-looking actor, I, the famous actor, I, the American, I, the poor one, or I, the wealthy one, or I, who is good with women. True love doesn't come out of that I. That's a pseudo-I. That's what most people refer to when they use that word that's so common, I. But the true love comes out when you're connected with the deeper I, the I that has no form, the one thing that never leaves you, the one ingredient that's always there no matter where you are, what you do, what you experience, that never changes, the I, the consciousness that you are. And when you live in connectedness with that, aligned with that, that's where true love comes. Because when you meet another human being, you can sense in them also there's the depth of the same I that is your identity. You recognize yourself in the other. and the other as yourself. And you feel a deep connectedness, much deeper than anything that you can say or think, with the other human being. And that's true love. Love is to feel that you're ultimately not separate, you're one. That can only come out of the spaciousness that is part of the now. The now is space. What happens in the now is form. Don't confuse the two. The reason why people think there are many, many moments in every day, in your lifetime, in every hour, because what happens changes continuously. The forms around you change continuously. The thoughts that go through your head change. The emotions that you feel change. The people around you change. So people think every time it's a new moment, this moment and another moment and another moment. If you look more deeply, you see it's not another moment, it's always now. But the form that appears in the now changes continuously. But it's always now. And ultimately, now is who you are. The space of now is the space of I. And then things happen in it and they change continuously. So there are two ways of saying, when I ask you, what is it that never changes? What is it that's always there in your life, no matter where you go and what you do? You can say, it's always I, the deepest I, not the superficial I that changes, the thoughts, the emotions, who you are in the world. But the deeper I is always that's always the same. And so another way of looking at it is to say, it's always now. The now never changes. And then you find the miraculous thing, they're actually one. The space of now and who you are in the depths of your being is consciousness itself, before it becomes something. The very foundation out of which all life comes. You could say God. God dwells in the depth of your being, not as some entity, but as the formless one life itself. That is the deepest meaning of what now is, and that's why the now can never leave you. So I am the now.
So it's absolutely simple what I have to say to you. It's what my teacher said to me. And I'm still deeply discovering the reverberation of that. And it's simply stop looking for what you want. Not cynically stop looking for what you want. Because there's a way of stopping looking for what you want in resignation and cynicism and closing down. But innocently, openly, stop looking for what you want in this moment. Not tomorrow when you have it. But in this moment, to take one moment, whatever it is you want, however mundane or profound, and just stop looking for it. And you will find more than what you could ever want. Because more than what can be wanted is already who you are.